It's 10:42 a.m., the 7th of October 2025. In the South China Sea, near the Paracel Islands, the USS Gerald R. Ford's radar suddenly flashes red multiple unknown tracks ahead. "General quarters!" echoes across the decks. Sailors sprint to stations, eyes locked on screens. Outside, the escorts Decatur and Fort Lauderdale shift formation. Overhead, FA-18 Super Hornets roar off the deck. On the horizon, Chinese destroyers emerge, led by the massive Type 055 Lhasa. The gap between them closes fast, too fast. Every move now could tip the balance between deterrence and disaster. E-2D Hawkeye reports bearing and speed. EA-18G Growler powers up to jam if needed. The bridge orders steady course. This is a phone-op, not a fight. Cameras roll, because evidence can be as powerful as missiles. Mandarin and English warnings overlap on open channels. The sea is crowded, the stakes are not. Every word on the radio could turn a routine passage into an international crisis. In the South China Sea, this isn't just open water, it's one of the world's busiest trade routes. Every container ship, every tanker passing through carries fuel, food, and tech that keep economies alive. The USS Gerald R. Ford is here on a freedom of navigation operation, proving that no nation owns these seas. For the US, it's about keeping sea lanes free. For China, it's about defending what it calls its sovereign waters. 2 missions, 1 stretch of ocean. The Ford's crew knows what's at stake. If they back down, every ally from Manila to Tokyo sees hesitation. If they push too hard, a single misstep could spark a conflict neither side wants. The Chinese destroyer Lhasa shadows close, her massive radar scanning the American formation. Radio messages crackle measured words hiding sharp intent. On both bridges, officers stare at the same sea, drawing invisible lines in the waves. In the operations room, a young officer whispers, "If they cut across our bow, what then?" The captain doesn't answer right away. His job isn't to fight, it's to finish the transit without lighting the fuse. Outside, the distance closes mile by mile. Each second feels longer than the last. Beyond the horizon, shore-based sensors and long-range patrol aircraft watch the same corridor. Insurance rates rise with every headline. A single close call can ripple through ports a world away. Allies track the transit in real time, weighing their own choices for the next patrol. The message each side sends today will shape how the next convoy sails tomorrow. Now put yourself in the captain's seat. Type 055 charging in, alarms blaring, the crew waiting for your call. Would you stay the course to prove you're right, or turn away to keep the peace? Press 1 to hold steady, or press 9 to change course before it's too late. 10:58 a.m. The situation breaks. Type 055, Lhasa turns sharply to port, cutting across the Ford's projected path at less than 200 meters. "Collision risk high!" echoes through the bridge. The captain's voice is steady. "Maintain course." On the radar, 2 blips merge dangerously close. On deck, FA-18 Super Hornets are armed, engines spooling for launch. The Ford's escorts, Decatur and Fort Lauderdale, adjust formation. Their SPY-6 radars painting every target. "Identify, don't provoke," the tactical officer warns. Even a wrong tone could trigger escalation. Chinese voices flood open channels. "You are entering Chinese waters. Leave immediately." The Ford replies, calm and rehearsed. "Conducting lawful operations in international waters." Each word weighs heavy. A KQ-200 patrol aircraft roars overhead, flares burning as it banks away. Phalanx gunners track it, then stand down. The tension is electric, seconds decide everything. New tracks bloom small, fast, skimming the waves. Unmanned contacts, bearing 210. Non-kinetic plan goes live. Decatur surges ahead, blasting horns and LRAD warnings. A Seahawk lifts off, spotlight sweeping. A rib shadows the lead drone. Loudhailer booming in English and Mandarin. E-2D Hawkeye reports, no missile locks, but interference spikes. Lhasa is jamming. EA-18G Growler counters, flooding the spectrum. The duel is unseen yet deafening to operators. The carrier group shifts a few degrees starboard, barely perceptible, tactically decisive, creating space while staying on course. SM-6 and ESSM hold coal, the air defense officer confirms. Restraint is the message. Bridge-to-bridge hails repeat in both languages, slower this time. The helmsman holds 5 degrees right, eyes fixed on the relative motion line. A petty officer reads range in meters like a metronome, steady and clear. On every screen, the legal corridor glows narrow but still open. If either ship twitches, steel meets steel. If both hold, the sea breathes. On the bridge, the captain watches Lasse's bow wave slice across Ford's path, then ease off. Cameras roll, deck crew steady, the drones drift aside, pushed by wake and warning. The radio quiets to breathing and static. "Mark this," the captain says. Transit continues. The formation holds its line through a crowded, silent sea. 11:06 a.m. The sea looks calm, but every radar screen screams tension. The Chinese formation holds parallel to the fort, less than 2 miles away. Each wave between them carries the echo of engines, radars, and intent. The Ford's crew can feel the pressure not from weapons, but from watching eyes on both sides of the Pacific. Inside the Combat Information Center, voices stay low. Reports stream in. New contact, bearing 190. Possible drone relay. Copy. Track it. Don't engage. Every command is measured, every second recorded. On the bridge, the captain studies the horizon, steady hands on the railing, heart pounding beneath the calm. The Chinese destroyer Lhasa begins a slow turn, mirroring the Ford's motion. Its deck guns swivel just enough to remind the Americans they're still being watched. The message is silent but clear. You move, we move. Aboard Decatur, sailors double-check CIWS mounts, barrels glinting under the Sunday. The radar operator mutters, "Feels like they're testing reaction time." The XO replies quietly, "And we're not giving them the test result." At 11:10, the Ford crosses the midpoint of the contested zone. Overhead, an E-2D Hawkeye spots aircraft orbiting far to the north, J-20, likely. They don't close in, but they don't leave either. It's a standoff painted in radar tracks and silence. The captain orders, "Maintain course, report every minute." His tone is steady not just for the crew, but for anyone listening. The Ford's mission isn't to fight, it's to endure. Then a surge, Lhasa accelerates again, crossing wake to wake. The American formation holds steady. Cameras roll, logs mark every second. One wrong move could turn this narrow sea into a global headline. In the ready room, a young pilot watches the bridge feed. "Sir," he asks, "if they cut in again, do we launch?" The answer is quiet. We launch nothing. Our weapon is restraint. Out on the deck, the sun burns through haze, reflecting off both hulls, two nations' pride staring each other down across the water. The ocean is wide, but in this moment it feels barely an inch deep. If you were there, seeing Lhasa close in again, would you hold the line or brake to cool the storm? Press 1 to stay the course, or press 9 to turn before it's too late. 11:18 a.m. Just when the Ford's formation steadies, a new alert flashes across every console, multiple low-flying contacts inbound from the east. Altitude 60 feet, speed 200 knots. The CIC falls silent. "That's not surface drones," someone mutters. "Those are J-20, flying nap of the sea." Tension spikes. On the deck, yellow shirt handlers freeze mid-step. The Ford's air wing stands by, but launch authority remains locked. The captain's order comes clear. No launches unless fired upon. It's the hardest command in a cockpit full of fighter pilots. The J-20 break formation, swooping low over the Ford's right flank. Sensors flood with radar pings and electronic noise. It's not an attack, it's a demonstration. A message in jet exhaust and sonic waves. "We're here and we can touch you." Aboard Decatur, an operator watches his scope blur with jamming. "They're painting us hard," he says. Spy 6 still holding. Holding, but barely. On screen, ghost targets flicker, testing the system's patience and the crew's. Then, as suddenly as it began, the skies clear. The J-20 pull up, climbing into the haze. Silence returns, heavy and unreal. The only sound is the hum of engines and the slow breath of sailors who know they just stood inches from disaster. The captain exhales, his first full breath in minutes. Log the pass. Continue course. Around him, officers trade quiet, looks respect, mixed with disbelief. One wrong twitch, and history might have changed today. But the ocean isn't done watching. Satellites, drones, and analysts will replay the footage frame by frame, all asking the same question. Who blinked first? 11:26 a.m. The horizon shimmers under heat and haze. The Ford's battle group nears the edge of the contested zone, but tension only sharpens. Chinese ships shadow closer than ever, wake lines crossing like drawn blades. The air hums with radar pulses, constant, invisible, hostile. Bearing 185, closing fast, reports Decatur. The contact isn't hostile, but reckless, a Chinese Coast Guard cutter slipping between formations. Range 1,000 yards, 806. The captain's voice stays calm. All ahead 2/3. Maintain formation. Every sailor feels the vibration underfoot. The ocean seems still, yet pressure builds, two nations locked in a contest of nerve. One wrong move risks not just collision, but tomorrow. Aboard Lhasa, spotters track through binoculars, relaying updates to shore. Overhead, an E-2D Hawkeye catches faint radar sweeps from Fulam Island, the Chinese OTH array watching, feeding data back to command centers far inland. Bridge to CIC, new interference detected. They're lighting us up again. The growler responds instantly, flooding the airwaves with jamming. To the eye, nothing changes, but in the spectrum, a silent storm rages. Through the haze, a Type 52D destroyer appears off Ford's port side, closer than any yet. Deck cameras zoom in. Hull number glints. Bow waves nearly touch. Seconds stretch thin. If they come closer, we'll touch steel, someone whispers. The captain doesn't blink. They won't because we won't. Both ships shift minutely, invisible to outsiders. But every sailor feels the horizon widen again. Engines hum. Radios settle to routine. The Ford's transit is almost done. No shots, no collision, yet nerves stay razor tight. Spray drifts across the flight deck. Helmets glint. A petty officer coils a hose with hands that finally stop shaking. In CIC, a yeoman timestamps the moment and underlines one word on the log: restraint. The Pacific exhales. But somewhere, footage of this near miss already loops across newsrooms, fueling debates and pride on both shores. If you were on that bridge, watching the Type 52D edge within reach, would you hold your course to stand firm, or turn away to cool the sea? Press 1 to hold steady, or press 9 to turn before sparks fly. 11:45 a.m. The Ford's task group clears the edge of the contested zone. The sea widens, and with it, the air feels lighter. The crew finally exhales. A few smiles break through the tension, but nobody celebrates, not yet. The bridge windows reflect calm seas that don't match the pulse, still racing under every uniform. Down in the ready room, pilots remove helmets in silence. On the flight deck, a maintenance chief wipes salt spray from the nose of an FA-18. He mutters, "Closest I've ever seen without shots fired." No one disagrees. The message goes out across the Pacific within minutes. Washington calls it a successful freedom operation. Beijing calls it a provocation met with control. Both sides declare victory, and neither is wrong. The battle wasn't fought with missiles or guns, but with nerve, presence, and restraint. In command centers from Norfolk to Hainan, analysts freeze frames, tracing every course correction, every radar sweep. They're not studying tactics, they're studying psychology. What does it take to hold steady when the other side dares you to move? For the Ford's crew, the lesson is quieter. They didn't prove who's stronger, they proved who could stay calm when strength alone wasn't enough. The horizon ahead is clear now, but the sea will remember every wake. Next time, the test may not end with silence. As the carrier group resumes open waters, the captain stands at the bridge wing, watching sunlight glint off calm waves. "Mark this day," he says softly, proof that discipline wins battles long before they're fought. And as the footage circles the world, Viewers split down the middle. Was this restraint, a show of strength, or a warning sign of hesitation? If you've watched to this point, what do you think? Press 1 if you believe calm won the day, or press 9 if you think power should have spoken louder. It's 21:40 on September 15, 70 nautical miles west of Manila. The Philippine patrol vessel BRP Teresa Magbanua punches through choppy swells when the scope flares to life. A bulky radar return blooms. China's Type 815G spy ship Tianwangxing, running dark and silent. Alarms hammer, boots pound steel, hatches slam. On the starboard horizon, a sharper silhouette slides in. Type 50, 2D destroyer Gilan. Its deck lights wink, then vanish. A China Coast Guard cutter angles across the bow while a Z-9 helicopter skims the waves, its searchlight cutting a white lane through the spray. Radios pop with clipped commands. Engines rise to a roar. The bridge orders. Intercept. Hold course. Floodlights snap on. Laser dazzlers flicker in the haze. Water cannons arc and drift in the wind. Crew strap in. Gloves tight. Eyes on arcs of fire. Both sides edge closer, meter by meter, neither yielding an inch of water or pride. No one fires. Not yet. One wrong call here, and the night breaks open. In the South China Sea, every lane of water carries more than ships. It carries food, fuel, and the trust of nations. Just 70 miles from Manila, the Philippine crew knows they are not just guarding empty waves. Behind them lies their capital, their families, and the credibility of a nation that refuses to be pushed aside. For Beijing, the Type 815G spy ship is more than steel and antennas. It is a statement. China can watch, measure, and pressure its neighbors whenever it chooses. Backing it up, the destroyer Gilan is a floating warning, bristling with missiles designed to remind smaller navies of their limits. And the Coast Guard cutter plays the shadow role, less lethal, but aggressive, meant to test resolve through close passes and intimidation. At this exact moment, a major U.S.-Philippines exercise, Cope Thunder 2025, unfolds in the background. American F-35 roar overhead at Clark Air Base, while Washington stresses its commitment to treaty obligations. That makes every move here more dangerous. If a collision sparks, it may not stop at two ships. It could pull in allies, jets, and entire fleets within hours. The South China Sea is already the world's most contested waterway, and tonight its balance hangs on a handful of men staring through the dark. The Philippine commander's dilemma is clear. Turn away, and Manila signals weakness. Hold course and risk a direct clash with one of the world's most powerful navies. The crew grips the rails, sweat cutting through the salt spray. They know the next radio call could change their lives, or the balance of the entire region. So here's a question for you. If you were on the bridge tonight, would you stand firm with the Philippines, or back away to avoid escalation? Hit 1 if you'd hold the line, or 9 if you'd pull back. 22:5. The sea heaves under a heavy sky. Inside BRP Teresa Magbanua, tracks bloom on radar, fast closing. The Chinese destroyer Gilan pushes forward. A Z-9 helicopter dips low, skimming spray. The Philippine commander grips the mic. Hold steady, weapons free if threatened. A white beam from the China Coast Guard cutter burns across the bridge windows. The Magbanua answers with her own floodlights, locking on the Tianwangxing. Two blades of light duel on black water. Engines roar. The cutter swings across the bow with barely 2 ship lengths to spare. Brace! The XO shouts. Steel shudders as the Magbanua edges off to avoid collision. The radio snaps first in Mandarin, then English. Leave immediately. You are in Chinese waters. The Philippine reply is steady. This is the exclusive economic zone of the Republic of the Philippines. Turn away. Gunners clip in at their mounts. Their weapons are simple compared to the Gilan's missiles, but they are ready. On the destroyer's deck, silhouettes gather at guns. Searchlights rake the waves. No one blinks. The Z-9 dives lower, rotor wash hammering the sea. It cuts across the Philippine ship's path. The commander orders, water cannon. A white jet erupts, slicing the chopper's track. It misses, but the message is clear. This ship will not yield. Cheers rise from the drenched deck, sharp and nervous. The Coast Guard cutter replies with twin arcs of water that smash into the Magbanua's rails and wheelhouse. Gear clatters, men duck, alarms buzz. In this duel, even water feels like a weapon. Above, another sound builds. F-35 from the Cope Thunder exercise rip across the clouds. Lights dim, speed high. They do not engage, but their presence looms. Everyone knows, if shooting starts, those jets could be back in minutes. The bridge steadies, helm holds course, engines stay at battle power. Manila calls for a status update. Allied controllers remind them to keep fire discipline. The crew straps in, sights fixed, breathing measured. The opening move is made, and it cannot be undone. The Philippine ship stands firm. The Chinese formation closes around the spy vessel. Every sailor knows the truth. Once momentum builds at sea, stopping it is the hardest maneuver of all. The next choice belongs to Beijing. 22:25. The standoff enters its second hour. The sea churns between hulls as both sides edge closer. From the Magbanua's deck, sailors see the Chinese flag snapping in the wind, lit by the glow of the destroyer Guilin. Every wave feels sharper, every second heavier. The Philippine ship shifts 2 degrees to starboard small, but calculated. By narrowing its profile, the vessel presents less of a target and brings its guns to better angles. Spotters call out bearings, gunners adjust. The crew knows, this is not just about one patrol. It is about proving they will not be shoved aside in their own waters. Then, new pressure. Several drones lift from the Chinese cutter, buzzing low and fast. They dart toward the Philippine vessel like metal hornets. A gunner fires tracer bursts tear the night, cutting one drone down. Another explodes in spray, but a few slip through, orbiting dangerously close. Cameras swivel, lenses gleam, feeding intelligence back to Beijing. The Z-9 helicopter sweeps in again, flying parallel, a camera pod aimed at the Philippine bridge. To the crew, it feels less like observation and more like targeting. Tension climbs. Orders ring out, maintain course, lock on but hold fire. Sensors track the intruders, but fingers hover near triggers. Water cannons blast again from the Chinese side, white arcs smashing across the Philippine bow. The Magbanua replies with her own jets, defiant despite being dwarfed in size. Spray covers the deck. Men stagger, but they hold fast. Overhead, the sound of jets fades, then returns U.S. fighters circling at distance, unseen but not forgotten. Their presence is a silent shield, one that could turn into firepower if the line is crossed. Philippine sailors draw strength from that thought, even as they face down the storm ahead. Every move now feels like a coin toss. A wrong turn could spark a collision. One accidental burst could ignite a firefight. The crew glances at their commander. He stands rigid, eyes forward, jaw tight. For now, restraint holds. But the question lingers. Is restraint enough? If you were here, would you back Manila's decision to hold steady or demand a harder push against Beijing's pressure? Type 1 if you'd stay the course, or 9 if you'd strike back. And don't forget to subscribe for the next clash at sea. 22:45. Tension is already unbearable when the unexpected arrives. A second Chinese destroyer does not appear, but something smaller, faster, and harder to counter does. From the Guilin's deck, rigid hull boats launch into the water, packed with armed Coast Guard units. At the same time, 2 new drones skim low over the waves, almost invisible on radar. The Philippine crew realizes the game has changed. These are not just shows of force, they are probes, testing gaps in defense. The boats dart in erratic lines, weaving close, blasting spotlights and loudhailers. The buzzing drones circle overhead, dipping so low sailors feel the wash of their rotors. "Contact incoming," the deck officer yells. Gunners pivot, but the commander halts them. Firing now could spark a clash. Instead, he calls in the last line of defense. Small, fast boats launch from the Magbanua. Sailors scramble aboard, throttles roar, engines scream into the night. The encounter turns into high-speed chess. Chinese boats cut across. Philippine boats block, spraying water arcs, maneuvering within arm's length. Above, the 2 drones streak in, angling as if to crash straight into the patrol ship. Sirens wail, Floodlights blaze. For a heartbeat, everyone believes the next moment could be the last. But the drones veer away at the final instant, passing so close their engines rattle the bridge windows. Pure intimidation. Yet the sailors hold firm, teeth clenched, knuckles white on grips. The twist is clear. This is no longer only about territory. It is about breaking will, pushing a small patrol ship to endure against a swarm of threats, boats, drones, and helicopters at once. 23:5. The standoff finally breaks into chaos. The Chinese boats surge closer, engines howling, their crews shouting through loudhailers. The Philippine fast boats intercept, weaving across the bow, spraying water arcs that hammer against hulls. Metal scrapes. For the first time tonight, steel meets steel. On the main deck of the Magbanua, gunners swing their weapons, tracking the drones diving overhead. One comes straight in, alarm shrieking. A burst of tracer fire cuts the sky impact. A fireball erupts, raining sparks into the sea. The second drone veers wide, then swoops again. This time, the ship CIWS spits a storm of rounds, shredding it before it can close. The Z-9 helicopter loops back, circling at near point-blank range. Its searchlight blinds the bridge, its sensors locked on the patrol ship. "Targeting radar!" a sailor yells. For a split second, the Philippine commander considers the unthinkable, pulling the trigger on a Chinese aircraft. Instead, he orders a hard turn. The patrol ship heels sharply, spray blasting across the deck. The maneuver throws off the chopper's aim, but only just. Then the Chinese cutter charges. Floodlights blaze, sirens scream. It cuts across the Magbanua's bow with only meters to spare. Water cannons pound both sides, drowning the deck in sheets of spray. Sailors hang on, soaked, teeth clenched, refusing to back away. Overhead, F-35 fighters roar back into view, low and menacing. Their silhouettes slice the clouds, and for the first time, the Chinese formation hesitates. Both sides know, if a single shot is fired now, the clash will pull in powers far beyond this patch of sea. The bridge is electric. Radios crackle with warnings. Engines thunder, lights flare. The Philippine crew holds their ground, weapons trained, nerves fraying. Across the waves, Chinese sailors mirror them, fingers hovering above triggers. Every man knows the next second could decide not just the battle, but the region. And here's the choice. If you were standing on that deck tonight, would you fire first to push back, or hold steady on the razor's edge of restraint? Comment 1 if you'd stand firm, or 9 if you'd strike, and subscribe now so you don't miss how this crisis ends. 23:40. The clash ends not with missiles, but with silence. The Chinese formation slowly peels back, the Tianwangxing spy ship slipping into the dark, trailed by the cutter and the destroyer Gilin. Their lights fade across the horizon, but the message remains. They can return at any moment. On the Magbanua, sailors stand soaked and exhausted, gear dented, nerves frayed. They did not fire the first shot, but they endured every shove, every drone, every spotlight. Tonight they held the line. Yet no one feels like a victor. The sea around them is littered with broken drone parts and the echoes of threats that never became open fire. In Manila, officials move quickly. The government declares the encounter proof that the Philippines will defend its exclusive economic zone. Crowds cheer in the capital, waving flags and praising the crew's courage. But the celebration carries a shadow. What if next time the Chinese formation comes back stronger, with missiles primed and orders less restrained? In Beijing, the message is different. State media shows images of Chinese ships holding position, declaring the operation a success. They frame it as proof that China can enforce its will in waters it claims. For them, the confrontation was a warning, not a defeat. And in Washington, the sight of F-35 seconds circling over the flashpoint reassures allies but alarms planners. Every drone shot down, every close pass, forces America and its partners to spend more, react faster, and prepare for bigger waves. The balance of power is tested with every move like this. The night closes with an uneasy calm. The Philippine ship remains at sea, patrolling, its crew alert, knowing another test may come with the next sunrise. The crisis has ended for now, but the question lingers for all watching. When the line is tested again, will restraint still hold? So tell me if you believe Manila's restraint tonight kept war at bay. Press 1. If you think stronger action is the only way to push China back, press 9. And hit subscribe so you don't miss the next confrontation that could decide the future of the South China Sea.